What's going on, sports card hobby family? It is another day. It is another sports card video. We are back again. You knew that we would be. Today we're going to be talking about GaryVee, Gary Vaynerchuk. It's my 90-day, I think this is like my quarterly GaryVee video that I put out because I'm just going to keep on pushing this out into the universe, and I hope that eventually I get what I want. I'll explain exactly what that is as we get through to the end of this video. Thank you to today's video sponsor, DC Sports 87. Maybe you want to sell sports cards, trading cards on eBay, but you don't want to deal with the hassles of the shipping and the returns and all the stuff that goes into doing it. DC Sports 87 will take it all on for you. They have a website that updates everything in real time so you can see as auctions are ending and people are paying. And then very easy to request payout, 1 business day turnaround time for them to move to get you your funds. It's a good time. So check out DC Sports 87 to sell on eBay. All right, if we go back in time a little bit, we go back 4 years, 2019, GaryVee was on the Rich Eisen show and kind of shocked Rich Eisen a little bit when he started talking about how he felt that trading cards, sports cards, were going to be kind of the next big thing. And I don't think that Gary could really see what was to come. I think he got kind of an idea of it because there was build up in the sports card market really dating back to 2016 with a steady movement upward. It was a lot of, let's face it, it was a lot of people like me, I'm 42, that hit our midlife crisis and we were getting back into our childhood stuff. GaryVee, I think, is like 3 or 4 years older than me. So he's in that same bucket of like 80s, 90s nostalgia. And it just hit. This generation came back all at the same time, really, as we get into 2020. Everybody is stuck at home. But if we go back to 2019, it might have even have been late 2018, but I think it was 2019 on the Rich Eisen show, where GaryVee is talking about trading cards, sports cards, and Rich Eisen's like, what are you talking about? Are you serious? And then it kind of spurred on from there. And we did actually see that happening. We did see kind of that rise of cards. And then, of course, it hit a meteoric pace as we got into the pandemic and the free money flow and all that stuff that happened. As we all know, we don't have to go back through it again. GaryVee put out a lot of videos during that time, kind of how to buy and sell sports cards, a lot of educational type stuff and also opinion stuff. He would also post controversial things where it was like Devin Booker silver prisms to the moon type posts, and people would buy into it and that. And he adapted off of that sort of content based on what was happening. I think he could see that he puts up Devin Booker PSA 10 silver prism rookie, and there was movement on that card. And so he pivoted off of that sort of content. But here's kind of my problem though, is he pivoted all the way out of the space basically, and then went into NFTs and then went into VeeFriends, built out his own NFT, which kind of coincidentally and ironically, I think, has now become more of a trading card company, less of the NFT stuff. Yeah, it's there as kind of the original NFT holders, but now it's more of a trading card company and a toy company. I think he's got VeeFriends stuffed animals and things that he's kind of focusing on now. But my big issue, and kind of going back to this, if we look at why did GaryVee stop talking about sports cards? He was actually on with one of my hobby friends, Jeremy Lee at Sports Cards Live, to talk with him. He's done that a couple of times over within the last year, talked with Jeremy about it in little spurts. He's not necessarily going live or anything like that because I know he doesn't want necessarily the chat to speak up on it. The thing that I do understand that he says is, hey, look, I got a lot of pushback when I was talking about sports cards. There's a lot of negativity thrown his way. He was a polarizing figure in the sports card space. There was a lot of pushback on GaryVee style content, just as there is with Jeff Wilson.
You take the card and put it in the sleeve. You take the card and put it in the sleeve.
Just as there is some with mine and others. But the bit I don't understand off of this is he's talking about, look, everybody was super negative about that content, but it's no different in all the other content that he makes. People are super negative when it comes to the business advice or the business stuff that he puts out. Yes, he gets a lot of love. Of course, he's got followers that are like, we love you, Gary, blah, blah, blah. But he also gets people who are like, hey, you're a moron. This is wrong. And the same thing, especially in the NFT space, tons of pushback in the NFT space. And then also with the VeeFriends stuff, even with the VeeFriends cards and that sort of thing, he gets pushed back all over the place. And so it makes me wonder, like, has he just gotten out of sports cards, or is he just doing it more on the down low now to where he just doesn't talk about it? But I just don't understand why he completely got out of talking about it in a fun way, because going back to 3 or 4 years ago, I believed, and I still do believe, that he enjoys cards. Going back in time, he said to his childhood, and I could relate to this because it was the same for me. Sports cards were kind of the first push foray into business as a kid. It's when you're, 9, 10, 11, 12, you get in your teen years and you can go to the flea market. I went to the flea market to sell cards, wasn't very good at it, but others were selling cards at shows and different things. And that was your first kind of visual of, okay, like commerce as a young person. It taught you some great lessons. And that is what has brought a lot of people back in, is that sort of mindset. And of course, the hobby slash business landscape of sports cards and just trading cards and collectibles in general has advanced tremendously from a technology standpoint to where we have all sorts of different buying and selling options that frankly in 1990 we just did not have. And so for the people that are my age getting back in, that's a whole element of the hobby. I don't think it's talked about enough. People are like, oh, how come there's all these 40-year-old middle-aged men that are out here trying to buy and sell cards? It's because when we were doing it, and during the last boom in 1990, we didn't have these options to be able to buy and sell cards. You bought cards, you traded it back to your LCS, and they gave you 10 packs for a Shaq rookie or whatever, and that was about the end of it. And so based on his talk, I really believe that he was big, really enjoyed these collectibles. And like I said, I think that he does. I don't think everything he said is that he hasn't sold, that he has held on to his stuff. I want to believe that, but when I hear him just kind of move over to VeeFriends and not really do much of anything in the sports card space, at the last National, from what I saw from the booth, the entire presence was VeeFriends. It was just about building his personal brand, selling VeeFriends products, and trying it. My guess is, I think he's got a trading card game, so VeeFriends is going to be the next Pokemon, I guess, or it's going to be the next, Magic the Gathering. And good luck to him there, but then it's like, damn, man, did you come in just kind of with the sports cards in mind, but knowing that the end game was going to be the GaryVee Friends card game brand? I really hope that that's not the case. I hope that maybe through that journey, you're like, hey, you had a light bulb go off, but I really hope that it wasn't just for the purpose of eventually this will lead into, the GaryVee trading card game. All the young people are going to get into, and then over time, in 30 years, they'll buy them like their 90s Pokemon cards again. I really hope that that wasn't the plan all along, because I think Gary is good for the space when he talks. He's got that contagious high energy, and I wish he would use it in the card market more. And he doesn't have to talk about specific cards. He doesn't have to say like, I think X card is going to go up next year or whatever. He can simply just talk about the hobby as a whole, be more of a ambassador to the whole thing, as opposed to just being now kind of on the outskirts talking VeeFriends. I just don't like it, man. I just wish he was more involved. So this is my quarterly GaryVee video, hoping to get his attention, to get back into more of the sports card space and just more involved in the overall kind of the movement of it. I know he's friends with Michael Rubin. Look, GaryVee is friends with a lot of the big names that run this show now. He's tied in with all of them. So it's not as if, he doesn't know anybody in the space. He knows probably every single major player that has some sort of a hobby business, or he knows people that know people. I think he would be a good person to have at shows, maybe at Fanatics events. He can talk, maybe he can do some of his motivational talk at a Fanatics event or whatever, tie it into cards. That's the sort of content that I want to see, and less of, I get you're trying to build VeeFriends, I get it, but man, I would love to just see kind of more of the big picture card hobby collectibles talk. Not even necessarily just sports cards, but just collectibles as a whole. I think it would be fun to have more of a GaryVee presence. So anyway, that's my spiel. Stay healthy, stay awesome, and I will talk to you again later.